Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Thursday, January the 8th, 2026, and, well, if you are anywhere in the United Kingdom, you know we've got a proper beast of a storm bearing down on us.
Mm.
This is Storm Goretti, and it is shaping up to be one of the most significant and complex multi-hazard weather events we've tracked in years.
It really is. And the mission for this deep dive is, I think, crucial. We're distilling the critical information from the Met Office warnings and forecast reports that came out today.
Right.
We need to move past the headlines to understand the science, the implications, and frankly, the sheer unpredictability of this system. It was named by the French, as a rapidly intensifying low-pressure area.
And we're not talking about a typical winter gale here. The sources highlight this.
Yeah.
This high-stakes, high-impact clash between mild, energetic Atlantic air being dragged in by Goretti.
And the entrenched, bone-chilling Arctic air mass that has been sitting over the UK for days.
Exactly. It's a battle, and that battle is why different parts of the country are facing completely different life-threatening risks all at the same time.
And the gravity of this is underscored by a phrase we just haven't heard often in recent memory: the issuing of a rare red wind warning. This is not just severe weather. This is a danger to life scenario. And it demands we understand exactly how and when this storm will deliver its worst punch.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with that pure destructive power. What is making this storm, the Atlantic punch, as it were, so violent, particularly for the southwest of England?
Well,
The sources keep stressing two things. It's deepening incredibly fast, and it's interacting directly with the jet stream.
that interaction is the true engine of the severity. You see, you can think of the jet stream as a high-altitude river of air.
Right.
And when a low-pressure system like Goretti taps into that flow,
Yeah.
the energy transfer is phenomenal. It just accelerates the whole deepening process. Meteorologically, we call this explosive cyclogenesis. It's essentially the storm equivalent of turbocharging.
Turbocharging sounds terrifying. So
Yeah.
how does that translate to the, 80 to 100 mile per hour winds being forecast?
It all comes down to the pressure gradient. When the pressure at the center of the storm drops that quickly, the air from all around rushes in to fill the vacuum.
Okay.
On a weather chart, we see this as isobars, those lines of equal pressure. The jet stream is helping to pull those isobars incredibly close together on the western flank of the system.
So if isobars are like contour lines on a map, tightly packed lines mean a steep pressure change.
Precisely.
It's like standing on the edge of a sheer cliff face instead of a gentle hill.
That's a perfect analogy. That steep pressure gradient translates directly into extreme wind speeds. And that wind energy is concentrated exactly where the red wind warning has been issued. Much of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly.
And that red alert, the highest danger level, is valid today, Thursday the 8th, specifically between 4 p.m. and 11 p.m. That timing is critically important, isn't it?
It is. It hits right during the evening commute and into the dark hours.
Which makes a dreadful situation even worse.
Absolutely. In daylight, you might see debris flying or see a structure starting to fail. At night, that visibility is gone. The danger from flying debris, down trees, it increases significantly.
And the sheer force of 80 to 100 mile per hour gusts. The Met Office states that winds this fierce haven't been forecast for Western Cornwall for a long, long time. How does that compare historically?
It immediately puts us in the realm of truly historic winter events. We're talking about forces capable of causing catastrophic structural damage, ripping roofs off, collapsing walls, bringing down major electricity pylons.
Wow.
This is the kind of wind that isolates communities for days. It far surpasses the impacts of more recent storms like Eunice, for example.
So that's why the danger to life warning is so serious.
It is. And the consequences listed in the sources are grim. Widespread power cuts, damage to buildings, mobile services interrupted, and extremely dangerous coastal conditions. The advice is unambiguous. If you're at that red zone, you must be indoors. Avoid all travel.
And the logistics of an emergency response in that kind of environment must be, well, impossible.
Incredibly challenging. Utility companies can't even start repair work until the winds properly subside, so widespread outages are a near certainty, and they could last well into Friday.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. That extreme scenario is confined to that very tight red area, but the disruption is much, much broader. There's a yellow warning for wind covering the southwest, the southeast, and southwestern Wales.
And in those yellow zones, the threat is still very real. Gusts of 50 to 60, maybe 70 mile per hour on exposed headlands. That's enough to bring down trees, disrupt rail and ferry services, and cause significant travel problems.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. It's a non-intuitive risk, the sources highlight, particularly for anyone in central Cornwall or Devon. They call it the dangerous lull.
Ah, yes. This is a critical safety point. If the precise center of the low-pressure system moves directly over you,
The eye of the storm.
exactly, the pressure drops so low that the winds actually fall light for a bit. The sources say gusts could drop to a relatively mild 30 mile per hour for a short period.
And people might think the worst has passed, so they venture outside to check for damage.
And that is the danger. That lull means the narrow, intense swath of damaging winds on the back edge of the low is just about to arrive.
How quickly does it change?
The winds can whip up again from 30 mile per hour to 80 or 90 mile per hour in the space of half an hour to an hour. It's a rapid escalation. There's no time to get back to safety. The message has to be, don't be fooled by the lull. Stay secured until the warning period is fully over.
That analysis of the wind threat is crucial, but as you said at the start, this is a multi-hazard event. So what does this atmospheric tension mean for the rest of the UK? We move from the physical force of Goretti to the interior, the inland battle, where the air masses collide.
We're looking at a proper winter battleground across the central spine of England and Wales. Goretti is dragging in all this mild, moisture-laden Atlantic air.
Right.
But where that mild air slams into the entrenched heavy Arctic air, the atmosphere cools down very rapidly.
So the precipitation starts as rain in the south, but as it tracks north or hits high ground where that cold air is deeper, it instantly turns to heavy disruptive snow.
That's it, precisely. This is why the effect is so geographically specific. The mild air is trying to shove the cold air back, but the cold air is dense. It's hard to shift, especially over hills. That creates a very narrow, intense zone where the heaviest precipitation falls as snow.
Let's focus on the amber snow warning specifics. The highest risk is across mid and north Wales, the West Midlands, and then up towards the Peak District, including Derbyshire. What sort of impact are we looking at there?
The accumulations are very significant. We're looking at 5 to 15 centimeters widely, but critically up to 30 centimeters. That's a foot of snow over higher parts of Wales and the northern Midlands.
A foot of snow. That's not just picturesque, that's paralyzing.
It is. And the major concern is the timing. This is all happening this evening and overnight. So the peak disruption won't be today. It'll be first thing tomorrow morning, Friday the 9th.
Friday morning will be messy.
It's very messy. Local authorities, transport networks, they're all bracing for significant disruption. Road closures on key routes, blocked rail lines. Rural communities in those amber zones could be temporarily isolated.
It is just astonishing that this one low-pressure system is causing life-threatening wind in Cornwall while simultaneously dumping a foot of snow on the West Midlands.
And we have to emphasize the variability. The sources repeatedly say the snow cover will be highly variable and patchy even within the warning areas.
So the rain-snow boundary is on a knife edge.
A very fine one. One village might see rain, while the next, just a few miles up the road, is blanketed. It makes local forecasting incredibly challenging.
And of course, while we focus on the snow inland, we can't forget the rain. The sheer volume of rain across the south is going to cause localized flooding risks, which then just complicates the cleanup.
It does. It not only adds to travel issues today, but that water, combined with the cold ground and lingering ice, the hazards are layered. We still have widespread ice warnings across the north and northeast where the cold air is holding on.
So it's not just one problem.
No. Emergency services are fighting ice, wind, rain, and snow across a massive area. The logistical stress will be immense.
The storm is intense, but short-lived. The disruption, though, doesn't just vanish when that red warning expires at 11 p.m. tonight. Let's move into our final phase, the lingering threat and future uncertainty. What happens once that low pushes east?
Well, logistically, Friday becomes a cleanup and recovery day, but it's hampered by the residual weather. The system slowly edges away, but strong, gusty winds will persist in the southwest, delaying repair work.
And centrally.
Centrally, the impact of that overnight snow will continue to cause major travel and community disruption right through Friday.
Even if the snow eventually turns back to rain later in the east, the damage is already done. Roads blocked, trains delayed.
Precisely. And there's a serious wind chill factor. Even if temperatures climb a bit, the gusty winds will make it feel bitterly cold, potentially sub-zero, which adds strain for anyone working outside.
Looking ahead to the weekend, does the UK get any sort of respite? What's the short-term forecast structure for Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday the 10th offers a brief, cold respite. It will start with a severe ice risk where the snow has been, but generally dry and brighter conditions should dominate for most of England and Wales.
So a day to clear up the worst of it.
A day to try. But gusty winds will continue, and any snow showers will be confined to northern Scotland.
And Sunday, it sounds like the Atlantic conveyor belt just switches back on.
Indeed. We see the return of wet and windy weather pushing in from the west. Rain will be the main feature for the south, but because the air masses are still so unsettled, hill snow is highly likely again in the north and on high ground in Wales.
So that fundamental instability in the atmosphere remains. What about the uncertainty beyond? Thinking into Monday the 12th and the rest of the week, are we done with the extreme cold?
The immediate models suggest the trend is leaning milder, which is good news. We might see temperatures push up towards 7, maybe 10 degrees in the south. However, and this is a big however, this is where the forecast gets highly complex. The models suggest an ongoing risk of snow persists well into next week.
But why is that risk still there if the air is meant to be getting milder?
Because the Arctic air mass hasn't vanished. It's just retreated eastwards, or is pooling over high ground. So as new Atlantic weather fronts push in, the rain they bring will keep meeting these pockets of lingering cold air, particularly over western and uphill areas.
So we could see more short bursts of snow.
Repeated bursts, yes. Forecasters are being extremely cautious because that tipping point between rain and snow will be on an incredibly fine margin for days to come.
It sounds like the aftermath of Goretti is almost as challenging to manage as the storm itself.
It creates a real resilience challenge. The immediate crisis is today, the travel disruption is Friday, and the ongoing variable threat of wintry weather is next week.
Let's synthesize this for our listener, the absolute key takeaways. If you take nothing else away, what are the 2 zones of danger you need to focus on right now?
Firstly, the extreme wind risk in the southwest Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly. The key is that the 80 to 100 mile per hour winds are brief but catastrophic, peaking this evening between 4 p.m. and 11 p.m. Stay indoors, avoid travel, and be very aware of that dangerous lull.
Secondly, the profound heavy snow risk centrally mid and North Wales, the West Midlands, the Peak District. This is where significant travel disruption and community isolation will be felt most acutely tomorrow morning, Friday the 9th.
And remember, the sources stress that highly variable nature of the snow and the rapid onset of the wind. Knowledge is most valuable when it's applied, so keep monitoring the live Met Office updates for your specific location.
To end this deep dive, let's leave you with one final thought. The forecast shows that even after Goretti clears, this intense battle between the retreating Arctic air and incoming Atlantic systems will keep the UK environment highly unstable for days.
That sustained meteorological tension means communities face a prolonged threat of high-impact, highly variable winter hazards. It's not just a one-day event.
So given this unique multi-hazard and prolonged forecast uncertainty, what measures should communities and infrastructure providers be taking now to prepare for not just one extreme punch from Goretti, but for a potentially prolonged period of high-impact, highly variable winter conditions? It's something to mull over as the wind and snow start to pick up tonight. Stay safe, and we hope you have managed to secure yourself and your property for the challenging hours ahead.